She was.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's continue. It's okay. Let's continue. Let's continue. See, no how you're doing.
Sorry for that interception. So let us talk about the combination of UI versus UX design. First off, what is UI design? UI design is user interface design, is a part that focuses on how the product looks. Imagine when you open an app, the colors, the buttons, the fonts, and layouts are all parts of the UI. UI designers, they all make sure that these visual elements are attractive, consistent, and easy to understand. So you feel comfortable navigating the app or website. So yeah, we've said before, UI UX is just designing and bringing up a digital product like a mobile app or website, but it's a combination of two different professions, either the UI design or the UX design. So now the UI design is mostly like what this place is telling us, is mostly focusing on the design aspect. But painfully, this is what people actually think that UI UX is all about. But now we've seen that the designing is just an aspect of UI UX. What then is the UX design? So the UX design is also called user experience design. This is all about how the product feels and works. UX designers plan out the steps of a that a user goes through to complete a task in the app, like ordering food or checking messages. They ensure that each step is smooth, logical, and it meets the user's needs. Now we've seen the difference between UI and UX design. So now let's think of it this way. Now I'm going to end this presentation right now. So now let's think of it this way. UI UX is a combination um, of both professions, UI and UX, where you focus not only on your designing but also on how the product feels when using it. So with this now, I believe that we've gotten a little bit of understanding on how the UI UX design field works. So now let's get started. The one tool that UI UX designers mostly use is known as Figma. Although we have other tools like Adobe XD and Sketch, which are really fun to use and it's really nice as designers. But for the sake of this course, we're going to be sticking with only Figma. So throughout this course, I'm going to be walking you guys through a series of steps into building a particular project. But for today, it's all about intro into the Figma. I hope you guys are excited as I am to get started. So I'm going to get started right away. So now I'll go over to my browser, saying that Figma is an online tool. It's a web-based application. So all I want you guys to do is to go over to your browser like I am and search for figma.com. So once you've done that, you hit enter and then you press sign up and create an account just like this, as easy as that. So Figma is a web-based tool. That's the good part about it. You don't have to worry about it uh, eh, taking over your storage or filling up space and saving and all of that. It's just strictly on web. Now I have already created an account previously, so definitely you guys are going to be seeing my account right here. But since you guys have not created an account before, I think you're going to use this time to sign up to the Figma environment. So at this point, I'm going to go on a 2-minute break and I'll give you guys some time to create your own account on Figma. And I'm going to come back after the next 2 minutes. By then, we are all done with creating our account and then we'll dive deep into the Figma to environment. So um, I'm going to give you guys some time to start. All right, so I believe you guys by now have already signed up to your own Figma account. So if you have, yours should be looking somewhat similar to this. Now I know that mine might be looking like a lot at the first glance because I've been using Figma for a while. But if this is your first time on creating Figma, don't be afraid. This is expected because what you're actually seeing here are a list of my previously opened documents which I have opened over the years. So, but for now, before we get lost in this jungle of projects that I have over here, I'm just quickly going to show us how to create a new design file. So please, this design file that we are creating, this is what we're going to be using to work throughout this bootcamp for UI UX design. So you will need to save it with a name that is going to be easy to remember. Of course, we are going to see any recently opened documents that we have on this panel. So that means this design file that we're about to create right now is going to appear on this our recently viewed. So as you can see, to create a new design file, all we have to do is come to the top left corner on this center artboard, the top left corner that says new design file. If you can see where my mouse is hovering above right now, if you scroll down, the button comes up at the top, says create new, and then you click on the drop down and select a design file. But regardless of where you are right now, you can always locate the option to create a new design file, and that's what I'm about to do right now. So I've clicked on this design file, and Figma is going to take me to another tab that shows me my blank canvas. So in a bit, once my screen is downloading, okay, it's downloading. Now let me walk you through the Figma environment. So what you can see in this center point is your canvas. It's a really, really big working space where you can do things, a lot of things there. It's limitless. It has no limits. It's not bound by a specific dimension. So you can design and design and design, create as multiple screens as you can or as you like, depending on you. But it's always advised to always keep your works organized. So that means that we are going to have to create what we call pages. So before we start getting used to Figma, I'm going to first of all show us how to name our document. So I'm going to name this particular document right now, and this is how I'm going to do it. So just follow me. As you can see, my cursor is moving over to the top left part of my screen here, this part that says untitled. Now under it, you can see that it's under drafts free. So this means that I am actually using the free version of Figma. Yes, so if there's actually the upgraded version of Figma where you can pay for it, it's actually $12 a month, I think. But I'm using the free version for the sake of learning. So if you're using the free version, automatically you're going to have some limitations. Of course, you can be able to do some of the things that the upgraded version can do, but you're going to be limited as well. So one of the limitations is that when it comes to the number of people you can invite into a particular file, because Figma is a really collaborative tool, is very limited. I know it's sounding confusing. We're going to come to that a bit in the future, but for now, let's just take it step by step. So the first step is to rename our document. So you see that down here, it's showing me that this is a draft. I haven't actually created a main project. I'll show you. We'll talk about main projects later on if time permits us. So to rename this document, I'm going to double click on this untitled right here. As you can see, it's highlighted in blue and white. So I've double clicked on it, and I'm going to rename it UI design, no, UI design boot camp. There, UI design bootcamp. I think that's good enough. So I'll hit enter on my keyboard. Now we've done the first step. We've created a new document and we have renamed ours. So I'd like you guys to do the same thing as well. Go to your Figma, create a new design file and rename it. The name that you choose is entirely up to you, but I would suggest using something that you can always relate to and remember in time to come. So once that is done, let's first of all start with this panel that we already introduced to, the panel to the left. Down you can see some options. It's below the files, the drafts and free. Here we have file and assets. So under the file is where we have our list of pages. So how Figma works, all this entire canvas that you're seeing here is covered or is contained inside a particular page. So Figma works in pages, just like documents. So you can choose to create a new page by clicking on this plus sign that you have over here, just like this, and I've created a new page. You can also rename the page, any page of your choice, by just highlighting it and typing there's any one of your choice. Then you hit enter, you've renamed the page. You can also delete a page by right clicking on it. You see the option delete page. Yeah, so working with pages is very, very good for file organization. One might ask, if my canvas is so blank and very, very vast, what is then the point of creating different pages? Well, from what we've seen about UI UX, although we just covered a brief explanation of it, you see that the UI UX entirely, the process entirely is a really, really bulky process. It involves more than just designing. So as a UI UX designer, you tend to do more projects, more things besides designing. You conduct research, you create empathy maps, personas, you analyze, and all those stuff. And you don't want to keep everything inside just one page. So it's always advised that you create different pages to organize your work. It helps a lot in file organization. You can choose to create a page for your wireframes. You can choose to create a page for your high fidelity screens or mockups. You can also choose to create a page for your finished versions or mockups, or a page for your case study, just to keep your work organized. So that's the importance of working with the paging system in Figma. So this is our page one. I think I'm going to rename it. So how do I rename it? There are two ways. I can either right click on it just like this, you see rename, or I double click on the name. I'm going to name this guy day one practice. Yeah, there you have it. So that means that means all the things I'm going to do for this day one will be contained in this page, so that when we start working on our project, which I'm going to reveal to you guys later on, I'm going to create an entirely new page to avoid messing up our work. That's so fun. So after that, as you can see, under it we have the layers panel. So this layers panel is actually where you have your components of each page. So I guess you can see the hierarchy of how Figma works. The first is your pages, then your layers. The layers are the contents of the pages. So my layers panel is empty because there is nothing on my canvas or on my page. So if I include anything here, which I will, we are going to all see it on this layers panel. So for now, it's going to be blank until we start designing or including stuff. All right. So moving on, the next part is our assets panel. So this assets panel is a really, really broad topic. It actually contains our libraries, components, and so many important stuff that we use here, and we might not have the time to cover much of them. But what we're actually going to come back to in subsequent classes is the topic of components. Yeah, this in this our 5-day bootcamp, 5-day bootcamp rather, we're going to cover the topic of components much later, but in a brief explanatory manner. So we'll not be able to go much in detail, but we'll talk about it later on. So in that case, our assets panel, we might think hold on a bit for this. Let's just stick to the files for now. Then next up, we have our toolbar that is seen at the bottom of our screen here. Yes, this is one of your favorite places that you need to know how to walk around in Figma. So the toolbar contains all the tools that Figma has. The first tool that we can see here is the move tool, which is actually the default tool. I like to call it the first one because it's actually the first tool that is automatically selected once you launch Figma. So this is the tool that you use to pick items, to move them. It might not seem like much, might look useless at this point because there's nothing to move. But don't worry, you're going to see that it's going to be your best friend. But before we move to the next tool, I'm sure you guys can observe with me that there is a tiny little arrow pointing downwards. Yes, in Figma, but I'm sure this is general everywhere. But now let's narrow it down to Figma. In Figma, whenever you see a tiny arrow, it indicates that there is more than what meets the eye. So that means you have something behind the obvious, the one that you're looking at. So let us click on this arrow and see the more. And wow, you see that we have two more tools added to the move tool. which is the face of the family. So I like calling them families. So whenever you see an arrow, it means that we have a family of tools or items. So the first one of this family is the move tool. Next is the hand tool. So this tool is what we use to pan around our canvas or our page. Yes, to move around. We might not see that anything is happening because the page is blank. But again, with time, we will see the application of it. The next tool is your scale tool. Now, this is the tool that we use to scale objects and text to different sizes. Again, we might not see the use because there is nothing to work with as of now. So we're going to skip that part and stick with our move tool. So one last thing before we move on to the next tool, I'd like to see show you guys these text that you see by the right hand side. As you can see, the move tool has a text V. The hand tool has a text as well, H, and the scale tool has a K by the right hand side. So all these letters that you're seeing here, they are not just letters, they are actually shortcuts. So as a designer, you want to know how to work with and use shortcuts like a pro, because it's going to save you a lot of time and stress. You don't have to be coming down every time to come and press this drop down to look for the hand tool or the move tool, or you just press the shortcut key on the keyboard and bam, you're back to the tool that you're looking for. So yeah, that's the shortcut keys. You can call them hotkeys, any whatever you want to call them. It's very, very helpful, and it will help you a lot in your design journey. So moving on, we have the next tool, which is the frame tool. Now, for the sake of the weight of what the frame tool can do, we are not going to be covering the frame tool as of now. So we're going to do like a jump over. We'll come back to this frame tool in a subsequent class. I think that is going to be in our day two topic. Yes, I'm going to introduce you guys to the frame tool on the second day. So that's where we'll see the application and the usage of the frame tool, as well as his siblings. As well, as you can see, we have the section and slice under the same family of the frame tool. So if you want to know more about the frame tool, that means you're going to stick around and wait out for day two. That is when we'll get introduced to the frame tool. So we move on, skipping the frame tool. The next tool that we have is our shape tool. Our shape tool. So, okay, so the shape tool is where we have all our shapes listed out. As you can see, the first one of this family is the rectangle. The shortcut is R on the keyboard, which is convenient. Then if you click on this drop down, you see that we have a lot more family members waiting for us to get introduced. The next tool is the line tool for drawing lines. The next tool is the arrow tool for drawing arrows, that's lines with an edge. And then the next is the ellipse tool for drawing circles. This is the polygon tool, star tool, and to place an image. So let's walk through each of these tools one by one. First, the rectangle tool. So I'm going to draw a rectangle like that. And now you can see that after drawing this rectangle, our layers panel got a bit more interesting. You see that this rectangle appeared as the first member of the layers family. Yeah, welcome rectangle one. So that means whatever you add to your artboard, like I said earlier on, appears on this layers panel. So now we can see the usage of this move tool. You see that I use my move tool to move this rectangle around in the canvas or in the page, whatever you want to call it. Then the next tool that we need to know is the line tool. Now, here's a pro tip or a secret for drawing lines or arrows in Figma. Now, when you want to draw lines, it is always best and advisable to hold down your shift key. Now, reason being that, let's say you want to try and draw a straight horizontal line like this. Yeah, I can say I've drawn a line, right? But does that line look really straight? I don't think so. And it can be really frustrating trying to get it straight. How is this going to work? So that's why your shift tool comes in. So here's how the shift tool works. Let's say this line is bent like this. I'll hold down my shift tool and try to lock it in place. You see how automatically it jumped. Let me go back again. Oh, I've deleted it. Let me go back again and draw it. Now watch this. I hold on to my shift tool, I click and drag it up, and automatically it just jumped at the slightest movement of my cursor. You see that it jumped into place. So that's how the shift tool works. It locks your object into certain degrees. It's like snaps them to pixels or points. So if you want to rotate something, if you want to draw something, it locks them at a particular degree. So if you want to draw a line tool, let me delete this guy. You want to draw a line, let's say you want to draw a quick horizontal line, the best thing is to hold down shift and draw your line. As you can see, no matter how bent my hand goes, no matter what, the line is only going forward. If you want to draw a vertical line, the same principle applies. Hold down shift and drag down, and no matter how wild your hand goes, it will only go further instead of sideways. Yeah, that's the benefit of working with shift. So that's for the line tool. As you can tell, we have the arrow tool as well for drawing arrows. I'll hold shift again to achieve a straight line. Then we have our ellipse tool. So again, question. Since we use the shift tool to create straight lines and straight arrows, what can the shift tool do for creating normal shapes? Well, let's find out. See that my circle, you see how squashed it's looking, how compressed it's looking. I think it's a bit out of proportion. Yeah. So to avoid this, that is where your shift tool comes in. So I'm going to delete that guy. I'll select the circle again, and now I'll hold shift and drag. Now you see how it's moving evenly. No matter how far my hand goes, it doesn't scale out of proportion. It is all proportionate. The width and the height is exactly the same. Now to test that theory, let's go over to our properties panel, which we are going to talk about later. But if you go over to the layout part in the properties panel, this is where I'm currently at. This part that says layout, you see the dimensions. We have the width and the height. You see that to get a perfect circle, your width and height has to be the same all round. So the width is set to 291, while the height is set to 291 as well. So that is to tell you that your width and height are actually the same size. So that is one of the good things about the shape, the shift, holding the shift key when drawing shapes. So if you want to achieve perfect dimensioning, you want to have a perfect square or a perfect circle that is free of the disproportional size or sides, you hold on your shift key and draw them. So I'm just going to move this guy upwards. I'll scale it down. Again, I'm scaling down, holding my shift tool as well. It should be your companion. Scale it down again, and then I'll move to the next tool, which is actually my polygon tool. So this polygon tool works in a similar fashion. You hold shift to achieve equal sides left and right. Like this, I've drawn a triangle. And then what's the last tool? We have a star. I'll draw a star as well. And there you have it. So this is our shape tool. These are all the basic shapes that Figma has. Of course, the last option is to place an image. So this is in case you want to place an image, you want to import an image from your system. All you have to do is just come down here, or you can press the shortcut Ctrl Shift K on your keyboard, and then this dialog box will open. So let's try it out. Ctrl Shift K. Wow, and you see a dialog box comes out where you can select your images from, but I don't want to bring out any image for now, so I'm just going to close this guy and we'll move on. So quick question. These are all the shapes that Figma has. What if the shape that we want to draw is a bit more defined or customized? And Figma can't give us just that. That is where a very, very helpful tool or feature in Figma comes in. So first of all, we're going to break it down into two. First off, the edit shape feature in Figma. So that means, like the name implies, you can actually edit an existing shape. So that means this rectangle that you have over here, you can actually edit it and change it the way it looks into something else. How do we do that? To enter the edit shape feature, you just have to click twice. That means you're double clicking on the particular shape of your choice, which is this rectangle, as is the case. You double click just like this, and excuse me, once you see that your shape is filled with these blue diagonal lines, just know that you're in the edit function. So in this particular place, you can actually edit your shape by adding what we call anchor points to it. So what are anchor points? Anchor points are like edges on your shapes. So currently we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we can say we have 4 anchor points. So you see that the edges defines your shape. If I remove this anchor point by clicking on it and pressing backspace, sorry, by double clicking on it and pushing it inwards, you see that I have changed the look of my shape. So what does that tell you? That the anchor point defines what your shape looks like. So that means if you can add another anchor point to your shape, you can actually change what the shape is. And that's why this edit shape feature is a really, really cool feature here in Figma. So if you don't have, you're not getting the particular shape of your choice, no worries. You just create the one that Figma has given you and edit it to your own liking. So let's say I want to create a pentagon, a five-sided shape. All I have to do is come to the center. You see that there's actually a suggestion to create an anchor point. I click there. I've added that one. Then I select it and drag it upwards. And there, I've gotten a pentagon, 5 sides. I want to add one more. I do the same thing, click, and just like that, I can warp my shape out of proportion, just like this. Now, who could believe that this was a former rectangle before? So that is the edit shape function. Mind you, you can always add more anchor points depending on your choice. Like this, you push them in, you can push them in, pull them out to any direction that you want. I currently don't know what this is, don't know what I'm doing here, but just to show you the function of this edit shape tool, I think I'm going to stop now. It's kind of looking somehow weird. I'll delete that shape. So the next option that Figma gives us for creating customized shapes is the pen tool family. Yes, again, I come with the family because the pen tool is not the only member. As we can see, is actually the next tool after the shape tool. So you can see that the pen tool has a younger brother, the pencil. Okay, they're actually called creation tools, right? Yeah, good to know. Creation tools, these shape tools, okay, region tools, move tools. Wow, the families have their own surnames. That's actually nice. So the pen tool, I'm going to click on it and let's see how it works. So with this pen tool, this helps you to create more personalized shapes. How do I mean? You see that when working with the edit shape function, you are limited to the basic shape that Figma has already given you, which was a rectangle, right? So this pen tool helps you to create a shape from scratch. So all it does this by working with different anchor points. So how do you create an anchor point? You do that by just clicking once, you've gotten an anchor point. Now you see that we've gotten a line, sort of like a tail. So I can click anywhere to drop the second anchor point. So let's say I want to okay, let me just show you guys what I mean. So now you see that I've clicked and then I've gotten a second anchor point. So let's say I want to draw a shape that looks like the letter Z. Yeah, we all know that the letter Z is one line this way and this way. So here's how it's going to look like. So let me delete that and start from scratch. I'll click, remember, hold shift to achieve a straight line. Click to create an anchor point. I want this my Z to have some depth, so I'm going to give it this. Hold shift to lock it in 15 degrees. And I'll click this way again. Hold shift. And there you have it. Just by clicking, you see how, okay, this guy is a bit further. So I'm going to press backspace. So in case you've created an anchor point where it's not meant to be, just press backspace and that anchor point goes out. Then you connect this guy up, click here and connect this guy up. And there you have it, letter Z. I know it's not looking much like the Z that we all know and love. So we're going to fix that in a bit. So here's how this works. I'm going to give you guys a brief break once again to draw your own letter Z, and we're going to come back in 2 minutes. I hope by then we are all done with our own letter Z. We're going to come back in 2 minutes and we're going to edit this guy. So I'm going to show you guys how to edit a customized shape after you have created one. So I'd like you guys to get started immediately, and I'll see you back in the next 2 minutes.
I thought I muted you. I swear. It is show.
All right, so welcome back, and I believe that we are all done with our funny looking Z. So now to edit an a customized shape after you have created it, let's get started. So we can see that there are some excess anchor points that I have created here. Yes, like this one is not needed. This guy is way too down. So after you have created your shape, this is what you do. You switch over to your move tool, yeah, because we're still in the editing environment. So I'm going to press V on my keyboard quickly, and I want to edit these anchor points. First off, I want to be moving this guy upwards a little bit, just like this. I'll click, hold on it, and drag it upwards. Then I want to get rid of this guy. So first, then I'll go back to my pen tool again, select my pen tool, which is P on my keyboard, and then I'll click on this guy and press backspace. So once I've done that, I'll take my move tool again, V on the keyboard, click this guy and drag it upwards. Then I'll go back to my pen tool again, P, and then I'll drag it all the way to this guy. So yeah, it's looking slanty. So I'll repeat the process again. V2 to adjust my anchor point like this. V2 to adjust this guy upwards like this as well. And then V2 to shift this guy inwards a little bit. So now we see that this part is looking nice. It's looking more like a Z that we all know. I'm going to bring this top part down to make all the edges, the spaces in between proportional. And I'll do the same thing for this final part here. And there you have it. So that's how the pen tool works. You can use the pen tool to create custom shapes for your design, because your UI UX design is all about visuals and also experience. So once you've gotten your experience right, it's also very necessary to get your visual design on point as well. So many times we designers, we don't have to stick to the pre-made shapes in Figma. So that's why you can need to create your own custom shapes from time to time. So, like we've seen so far, we've created a shape using only straight lines, right? So, what if you want to create a shape that has curves in it, like a circle? But this time around, not a circle. Let's say a wavy line. Yes, you can still use the pen tool to do just that. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool again, but this time around, you see that I have selected my pen tool. I still have like a tail following me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first press escape on my keyboard so that I will get rid of any follower, unwanted follower that I'm having here. And now you see that my tool is free again. But currently, I'm still in the draw new to new shape layout. So I can just go ahead and create my new shape. So now I'll create the first anchor point just like that. And you see that my line has been extended. So if we were to create a straight shape, I just have to click once, right? But this time around, I'm not creating a straight shape. What I'm creating is a curve. So instead of clicking just once, I would click once and drag. Yeah, just like this. So you hold down the left click and drag, and you get the curve. You see that you get some handlebars that are following you like extensions. You move to the left, you move upwards, the curve moves downwards, and if you move downwards, the curve moves upwards. So the secret of working with curves in any design tool, this is a helpful tool, is that your handlebars move in an opposite direction of your curves. So the handlebars determines the width, the length, and the direction of your curves. So you drag your handlebars down, your curve goes upwards. You take your handlebars upwards, your curve goes downwards as well. So remember, we want to create a wavy line. So I think I've gotten to the end of this part right here. Okay, so I'm going to move a little bit to get more space. So after creating the first curve, it is only natural that the follow-up is going to be a curve as well, just like this. It's going to be a curve. So if you want to keep the curve going, you click and then drag as well to keep that same flow, like you can see. And then once you're done, you click once, and you see that after creating the follow-up curve, the next curve goes back to being a line again. So that's how the curve tool works. You just click and drag to create your own curves for custom shapes. So that's how far we can go on the pen tool. It is always good to explore on your own and check out all these tools, see all these features, try new things, take it to the limit and break your knowledge barrier and take it further. So, but for now, we are going to put it a pause here for this pen tool, and we're going to see other cool features that Figma allows us to do. So the next tool that we are going to be looking at on our toolbar, just going to go ahead and delete these guys, is the type tool. This type tool is the tool that we use to impute text and other forms of typography. So this is the text tool. The shortcut is T, and as you can see, it has no family because it's just for writing text. So once you select the text tool, you click once on your artboard, and then you type whatever you want to type. So I'm just going to go ahead and type, "This is a lesson text." There you have it, and I have my text there. So I will quickly show you guys how to zoom in, because as it appears my text is looking tiny. So I'm going to zoom in by holding control and scrolling inwards, and you have my text there. Then, after you've created your text, you want to edit that text. You want to change the typography. You want to change the color. You want to change the way the text looks. Although we are going to come to that much later in this course, but for the sake of text, I'm going to show you guys how to change the particular typography of this text, particular typeface. So once you to do that, you first of all select your text and then come over to this design panel, scroll down, and you see typography. So this typography means everything that has to do with text. The very first option is the typeface rather. This is where you change the typeface, or what we call the font. It's actually called the typeface. So this is where you change the typeface to any typeface of your choice. Currently set to Inter. You can see that as I'm hovering over the text is changing as well. So I'm scrolling down. Let's say I want to give it typeface of Arial. So I'm just going to search Arial. Arial. Okay, I don't think I have that font here. I'll look for let's say I'll stick with the Inter then. Inter. Good. So that's how you change your text, your typefaces in Figma. Then the next is to change your font style. The font style is the thickness and the presentation of the text. So currently it's set to regular. I'm going to click down on this drop down here, and we see that we have a lot of font styles on this particular font family. We have the thin, extra light, light, regular, medium, semi-bold, bold, extra black, extra bold, and black. So depending on the application of this text, so depending on where you put it, that is what determines your font style that you're going to choose. So currently I've set it to black. I think I don't like that black, so I'm going to turn it back to medium. Then next, we'll move on to the size, which you can see that is by the right hand side of our font style, changing it from 12 to, let's say I want to increase it further to something like 16, and you can see that this is bigger than what it was previously. The next part that we're moving on to is the line height and the letter spacing. This part has to do with when you're working with paragraphs, so we're going to skip this for now until we move into paragraph text and type. So as we can see that what we have here is actually what we call an artistic text, meaning that what I'm typing is completely up to me, the next for me to put it in the next line. What do I mean? I can keep on typing and the line just goes on and on and on in an infinite direction horizontally. So if I wanted to enter the next line, I have to press enter on my keyboard for it to go to the next line. So what if you want to create a block of paragraph text and you don't want to always be pressing enter every time? You want the Figma to automatically enter the next line for you. So that is where you create a paragraph text box. So to create that, I'm just going to Ctrl Z a couple of times and go back to the way it was. And then I'll go back to my text tool again. So this text tool, I will, instead of clicking once on the artboard to draw an artistic text, I'm going to click and draw a paragraph text box. So here's what that does. After drawing my text box, you can see that no matter what I type, once it gets to the boundary of my text box, it automatically enters the next line by itself. Yes, that's the beauty of this paragraph text box. Now, all these tools that I'm showing you guys is just for the surface. Subsequently, as we move on in this course, we're going to be seeing some other features that we can always also do and apply to each and every one of these shapes and text as well. But for now, we are just going to be seeing how to create the basic of each of them. So that is how to create the different types of text box, the artistic text box and the paragraph text box, like so. Moving on to the next tool, we have our comment tool. So like I said, Figma is a completely collaborative tool. If you created a team project and you have multiple users that are connecting to that particular project, you can always chat. Like for our gamers, those of us that games and connect with people, different people online, you remember that you can always chat, drop messages to the people that you're actually gaming with. That is how Figma works as well. Only that this time around, you're not gaming, but you are working. So let's say I'm working on a particular project, a mobile app or a website, and I have different team members connected in, tied in. I can always drop comments just like this. I click on this comment tool and then click once. You see the option add a comment. I can say this is nice, and everyone that is tied into this particular document will see this comment. So it's a collaborative tool. When you have different viewers, perhaps as a designer, you're going to be working with teams a lot. You're going to have developers, you're going to have your product managers, and other members of your stakeholders as well. They might also want to tie in or connect into a particular project that you guys are all working on. So you're going to be needing a comment tool because most times you might be working remotely. You might not be in person or be working with the people that are actually part of this team. So you use this comment as a helpful means of dropping information and communicating while working online. So that is the point of this comment tool, as you can see. And once I'm done, I just click on upload and the comment is there already. Anybody that just hovers will see that My name, I have dropped a comment, Olens Asinobi, just now. This is nice, as you can see. So that's how it works. If I take my cursor out, the comment closes. If I place my cursor there, it expands. So that's the beauty of the comments tool and working with Figma as a collaborative tool. Lastly, under this toolbar is the resources panel or actions as well. You can call it resources or actions. So under these actions, this is where you can get extra assets, plugins, and widgets for the tool, for your project, regardless of what you want to do. So the topic of plugins, we are going to cover it in a much more later topic, let's say in a subsequent class. But for now, we're just going to get used to where plugins are. We're going to see what plugins are later on and how to use plugins and why they are important. So that is what you can get from these actions as well as your assets. So assets, you've seen that we've met our assets previously on this panel on our left. They still come here again. So like I said, we're going to come to the topic of assets and plugins later on in this course. So that is that for the action button. Then next and the last but not the least, we have the dev mode. So this is actually to switch between workspaces. So we see that Figma focuses mostly on digital products, and digital products end up being finished up by developers, right? If you're working for a mobile application, you can develop or design a mobile app, and then your developers can come there and build on it. But Figma is not a coding tool. It only assists developers in little ways as possible. So for this now, if a developer logs into Figma and wants to view a product or work on a project, he has to switch to the dev mode, as you can see, which I'm actually going to do right now. But I don't think I'm going to spend much time in that because it's not an area for us. So we have to upgrade our account to work in this dev mode for now. So since we are using a limited account, as you can see the information that they're telling us here, I'm only stuck to the free version of Figma. So I'm going to go back quickly to my design mode. All right, so this is how far we can go for today's first class on Figma and UI UX. We've covered a really lot of topics. We've talked about what UI UX is. We've gotten introduced to the Figma environment, although on a basic level. So this is where we're going to be calling it a day. We're going to be putting a pause. So in our next class, we're going to go take this our brief knowledge on Figma a step further to the next level. We're going to see in a much detailed sense. We'll talk about colors, how to edit these shapes that we've just known how to put into Figma, and how to create lots of other things as well. And it's also in our next class that I'm going to introduce you guys to the project that we are actually going to be working with throughout this 5-day bootcamp. So for now, this is where I'm going to sign out. But to keep this engaging and interesting, I would love to leave you guys with a bit of personal task or assignment to go home with. So that assignment goes like this. I have shown you guys how to import pictures, which is found in this shape, in the shape tool family, as you can see, the last option. So I want you guys to import any logo of your choice. I think I have an option in mind, the MasterCard logo. You can see that the logo is actually it's just basically two circles that have been laid on top, the one above the other, with a brief text underneath it. So I want you guys to upload a MasterCard logo and try to replicate it using the circles. Now I know we've not covered colors yet, so don't worry yourself about changing the colors. It's completely fine. Just stick to the basic default color of gray that Figma has given you access to and design it just like that. You work with your shapes, your text, and the circle as well, and then you know how to import your image. So this is just going to be like a test, like a practice of what we've done today. So don't worry yourself about it looking nice or looking good. It's just like testing of what we've done and covered today. So tomorrow, like I said before, we're going to see each other again, same time by 8 o'clock sharp, and we're going to talk more about these tools, how to edit them, how to add colors, and a lot more about these tools. And then I'll introduce you guys to the projects that we're going to be working with throughout this bootcamp. And I really love to see you guys there again so that you can join me in this particular enjoying journey. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it in your comments. I will see them and I'll do well to reply to your messages as well. But for now, I'm going to be signing out and I will see you guys again same time tomorrow. So do have a nice and wonderful evening. Good night.